Good morning. Welcome to our 5th annual celebration of philanthropy. I'm Jan Swift. I see both our speakers are here, so we can go ahead and start. I want to thank you for coming out on this beautiful day and for all of our members for what you do to support it. I want to give a quick update on some Upper Lafayette activities. Our door prize today goes along with the Leaders Against Litter, and this is the logo. And last Friday, there was a meeting at Lafayette City Hall, and this is going on around the state. Our Lieutenant Governor, Jay Darden, is leading the charge, and Lafayette in particular is going to be fighting against litter. And so I encourage you all not to fight, but to take a pledge with me one day at a time. I won't litter. If I see litter, I'll pick it up, and I'll encourage my children and my family and my friends not to litter. You would not believe how much this affects Upper Lafayette Parish. Whenever you come through I-10, more I-10 than I-49, but where those fast food restaurants are, we've had the sheriff's inmate labor clean up on one day all the bags, all the trash that people throw out of their cars when they leave the fast food restaurants. You can drive by the next day, and it's as if nothing was done. It's all of us, so you can't say it's them. I mean, I don't do that, but I'm sure I do other things that aren't right, but people don't realize cigarette butts, cups, things flying out of the back of trucks, even if they don't realize they're littering, they are. And so this is going to be a sustained effort under the Project Front Yard umbrella to clean up our town, because that's the first thing people see when they come into town, and that's our front yard. That's Lafayette's front yard, and it's Upper Lafayette. We're still doing our TV show, and Matt LeBlanc, thank you, Matt, for being here. He's filming us in the back. This was a recent guest. Monique Cole is a young vet who was left partially paralyzed while riding her bike on Fieldspan Road in Doosan. I interviewed her. She's one of the strongest women I've met, single mother with a child of about 7. And 2.5 years ago, she was riding her bike, training for a triathlete. She was a triathlete, and she was involved in a hit-and-run accident and was left on the side of the road. And it's really changed her life. She can't practice veterinary medicine because she doesn't have any strength in her hands. She's able to walk. What really moves, though, is the smile on her face and the beautiful spirit that she shares with people. She's not a victim, but she does have a compelling message. And so this show and others air on the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of each month at 8:30 p.m. And also you can go to our website, upperlafayette.com, and see all of our shows that we do load them up there. So here we are today, philanthropy. For the last 4 years, for those of you that have joined us, we have selected a Philanthropist of the Year, starting with Bo Ramsey of Aries Marine, who's been very generous in our community. Many of you know him because of his generosity with Bridge Ministry, with Episcopal School of Acadiana, so many charities that I'm probably not even aware of, the Lafayette Healthcare Clinic. We started with Bo, then honored Marcel Citron, Todd's mom, who started FoodNet here in Lafayette. And then I'm probably going to go blank. We honored Paul Hilliard with the Hilliard Art Museum, who's also a very big advocate for education. And last year, Nelson Warner, who started Bridge Ministry. But as Kimberly said, with the turnaround in the oil and gas prices, it seemed like a good year to go within and also to turn around and thank all of our members. Because so many of us will never be that, maybe the Philanthropist of the Year. We may not have, we may not be blessed in that way to do things where we can start a museum, but we can work at the museums. We can help fundraise for cancer societies. We can do as my husband John does and volunteer time to ensure that underserved people have access to legal justice through pro bono work. We can do such as Lafayette General does, where they go in and they help at Carencro Middle School. They opened up a clinic there and help with telemedicine. Different members among us can do different things. And so this year, we wanted to honor. And Scott Brastov will be our second speaker. And many of you know Scott. Right today, he's executive director of the Stuller Family Foundation, where he says his primary mission is not simply to hand out checks and play game show host, but to help nonprofit organizations connect the dots and improve efficiency. He serves on the Essential Visions Council of United Way of Acadiana and teaches junior philanthropy, which is very important in middle and high schools throughout Acadiana. For 16 years, Scott was a weekday news and sports anchor at KATC and won 7 Associated Press Awards. He anchored the station's highly successful St. Jude Dream Home project for 11 years, and you currently host the Spirit of Acadiana segment for Good Morning Acadiana, writes a weekly sports column for Acadiana Gazette newspaper, and contributes to other magazines. Scott's an Upper Lafayette guy at heart. He's a graduate of Turlings and UL Lafayette and the proud parent of Sophia and Nick.
Sorry. Quick story about philanthropy. My wife and I are the parents of a proud 14-year-old drama queen at Turlings and a 7-year-old madman at Cathedral. About an 8-year gap. God had a plan that he didn't inform us about. But my daughter, because of my work at Channel 3, and as Jan said, I was the face you saw for the first 10 or 11 St. Jude Dream Homes. Sophia grew up around St. Jude Dream Homes. Well, when she was a first grader at Fatima, she created a singing group called Forever Angels. Imagine 10 first grade girls in my house every Wednesday for about 3 months. And they had to come in, they had to make up a song, and Sophia would, each kid would do a song and do something nice and upbeat, and then the parents would come to pick them up at our home. And unbeknownst to us, when the parents came at about their second meeting, my daughter, again, a first grader, stands up in front of this group of parents who are sitting around our little bitty house in Broadmoor and says, now we're going to perform some of our greatest hits. If anyone would like to make a contribution to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, no amount is too small. My wife and I were bowled over. We had no idea this was coming. We quickly grabbed an empty flower vase, passed it around. We raised $22.71 for St. Jude. I contacted my good friends at ALSAC, the fundraising arm for St. Jude, and I said, I've got $22.71 headed your way. And I said, $2,271? No, $22.71. And they said, that is the best $22.71 we've ever gotten, because it came from a pureness of spirit, came directly from the heart, came from a passion. Sophia grew up around St. Jude Dream Homes. I would guess it's sort of a leading by example kind of thing. I didn't know I was doing it, but you guys can all do that with your kids. Philanthropy isn't rocket science. We complicate it. Adults, we complicate it. Kids get it. We tend to want too many forms and too many meetings. Kids get it. The Stuller Family Foundation has been around since about 1995. Matt and Cece started it. They wanted to do it local. Matt was a Fatima boy. Cece was a Lafayette High girl. My mom taught Cece over at Lafayette High. The Stuller Foundation was something that Matt dabbled in, Cece dabbled in, Mike DeHart dabbled in, a lot of dabbling. There came a time where Matt wanted the Stuller Foundation to be a little more out there. And hence he hired a TV guy who likes being recognized. Nothing better to do. Our scope of giving is pretty broad. We give from A to Z. We give from Acadiana Outreach to Louisiana. But our more passionate giving, Matt's passions, bigger dollars, usually involve Christian-based education and youth-related programs. Now, how did he bring me in? I got to know Matt through St. Jude. After the 2006 St. Jude Dream Home, and as Jan said, I'd done the first 10 or 11 of them, Matt and I were having lunch, and he says, well, what are you going to do now? June of 2006. I said, well, I'll work on next year's Dream Home, and I'll do my regular gig at Channel 3. I wasn't looking to leave. I love broadcasting. I love journalism. I love being on TV and being recognized when it gets me a free meal at a restaurant. So it wasn't like I was running away from something. When Matt goes, well, how would you like to work with 500 or 600 St. Judes? And I thought about what I loved about TV, and it was my work with St. Jude. There wasn't even a number 2 or a number 3. A bunch of things I like, and I am back a couple times a week, but there was that St. Jude element, and then of course you start thinking, well, if Matt Stuller thinks it's a good idea, you may want to give this a try. First couple months, I am ready to pull my hair out. I can interview anybody. I can do a story on anybody. But suddenly, I was looking through things with a different set of glasses. You know, I've known Margaret Trahan at the United Way a good bit of my life. She was a sorority sister of my sister, back when she was Margaret Holden. But suddenly, I'm having a meeting with Margaret, and I'm talking about all these foreign words like sustainability and mission statement, and I'm going, what the hell? And my wife called me after I was in United Way's parking lot. Again, 6 weeks on the job at the Stuller Foundation, working with Mike Dehart, who's all about numbers and details. And Suzanne goes, well, how are things going? I said, get me the hell out of here. I said, call Channel 3, see if they've replaced me. I'm coming back. Eventually, I learned to embrace the fact that while Matt's name is on everything, it isn't his foundation or just his, it's my foundation too. And once I realized that, things kind of took off. And I started, running my own way. And as Matt said, some of the things you get us involved in, I scratch my head about, but they generally seem to work out. So I've been with Matt for quite a while now. The Stuller Foundation, our scope of giving is very broad. Our annual grants, or our average grants, are about $1,000 to $2,000. We have given a few anomalies that you might read about in the newspaper that have a few more zeros on it, but most of them are in the $5,000 to $20,000 range. What we have tried to do with the foundation, though, is to, stray from the original reason why I was hired. Matt wanted a face. He wanted the foundation to become more of a resource, pretty accessible. A lot of folks give and you don't know how to reach them. And that's all fine. Everyone gives for different reasons in different ways. But Matt wanted us to become a resource. That TV guy, we know how to find him. And what we have done is I think, expand how you give. As Jan said, and I wrote in the bio, I originally thought my job was going to be play game show host, give out Matt's money, and take credit for Matt's generosity. It's great being a philanthropist with someone else's money. But more and more of what we do isn't, the grant making, the dollars, the check handing out is minimal. Yeah, I work for a guy who has a lot of zeros in his bank account. And I work for a guy that gives 2 or 3 times more than what the IRS requires him to give. I mean, he's a rich guy that does it right. He's got a big heart. But more and more of what we do are these grants without money. It's more grants of connectivity, I like to say. It's more opening the doors to folks. One of the things, Matt goes, what do you want to do with your foundation? I said, well, it's your foundation. He goes, no, it's yours. If you go off the beaten path and really crazy, I'll remind you that it's mine, but it's yours. Do something. I said, well, I'd love to lay a foundation for giving with kids. I'd love to teach some junior philanthropy. So, guys, in the course of 4 years, I've taught junior philanthropy at Turling's every Friday, all day in September. I'm at STM every Friday, all day in October. Cathedral Carmel for 3 of their 8th grade classes. Lafayette Christian Academy now for 3 weeks in the fall, 3 weeks in the spring. And Westminster just called me this week and wants to know if we can fit something in by the end of the month. And what we do in this class is, talk to kids about giving. And most of them will work through their religion classes. When Jesus knew a thing or two about giving, is my understanding. And we talk about why people give. We talk about different ways to give. I often tell them, I said, look, just because you guys are 16 and 17 doesn't mean you can't get involved and make a difference right now. Don't wait until you're 55. You can do it right now. And I also say, just because you're not a millionaire doesn't mean you can't make a big difference. I said, understand the distinction. I work for a millionaire. I'm a check-to-check-inaire. But that doesn't mean that I can't do some things and have some talents. I'm somewhat comfortable behind a microphone. When a nonprofit asks me to MC their events and my wife tells me I can do it, I invariably do it. It's my way of giving back. We can all do things like this. And the kids in junior philanthropy are phenomenal because, say, Jenny Kruger comes from the symphony and talks about her amazing programs. I saw a Do-Re-Mi up on one of Cherie's slides, and we're a big backer of that program as well, especially what they're doing over at Truman. And Jenny's talking, and she's talking about a program she did with the Boys and Girls Club involving violins getting into the hands of kids who might not even know what a violin is. And then this girl in the back of the class stands up and says, and she walks up to Jenny right as everyone's exiting, and she goes, I play the violin. Can I help you with that program? She just became a philanthropist. Faith House is there talking, Billy or Kristen Butte, and a kid stands up in the back and he goes, could I just collect paper towels for you guys? Well, Billy wanted to cry. She says, we're a day shelter. We need toilet paper, paper towels, toothpaste. I told the kid, I said, you collect the paper towels, I'll bring them to Faith House for you. 2 weeks later, I delivered 38 rolls of paper towels to Faith House. You know, pureness of heart. Not a lot of paperwork involved. These guys can do stuff like that. I mean, Junior Philanthropy is an amazing, fun program. We often talk about, someone asked me, what's a winning foundation? Or what's a winning nonprofit? I said, well, one, everybody's got a good cause. A nonprofit has a good cause, but then everyone's got a good cause. All the nonprofits, and we live in Nonprofit Central in South Louisiana, everyone wants to change the world. So what separates the ones that we consider winning organizations from the ones that maybe need some work? Well, everyone's got a good cause, but two, they've got a game plan as to how to fulfill that cause. And three, they create relationships. They foster collaborations. They make it all work because of a team. I often use the sports analogy. Why does Jim Hightower have so many wins at STM or Sonny Chaponche at Turlings or Louis Cook at Notre Dame? Yeah, they've got a cause and they've got a plan. They want to win games. But you got to have that teamwork. You got to have guys buying in. That's why these guys have 300 wins each, or Sonny's knocking on the door of it. That's why these guys get it. And that's why it's working. Another thing about collaborations, because we love groups, the Stoller Foundation, I think my other foundation buddies, we love nonprofits that work well together, that play in the sandbox together, that team up, that collaborate on events. I'll cheerlead for one of them, Christian Youth Theater, and my drama queen daughter is a part of it. But CYT is teaming up with Northside to put on Guys and Dolls, I think in the next few weeks. CYT has donated a lot of their people. Miss Maria, a great drama teacher. These guys get it. It can't just be about them. Why does Hudspeth have so much success right now at football? And why does he give speeches for the nursing department and for the computer science department and for the Moody School of Business and for the engineering department? Because he understands it's not just about football. If he's going to have a successful program, if we're going to expand all of our programs at UL Athletics, he's got to have buy-in for the whole community. He can have the greatest football team in the world, but if no one can afford to come to the games, if the economy isn't working in our area, no one's coming. We're not on TV. He gets it. He gets it. Other ways we give, the Stoller Foundation, a couple years ago, I'm sitting in a meeting with some social service groups, and they're all complaining about their technology. Oh, I'm having trouble with Word. I'm having trouble with Lotus 123. I didn't know they still made Lotus 123. I'm having trouble with this, and I'm thinking, I didn't say this out loud luckily, I'm thinking, what a bunch of whiners. And then I realized my perspective was a bit different from theirs. If I have trouble with my computer at the Stoller Ranch, I call the IT guys at Stoller. They come running over, or heck, they log on and fix it. So I talked to my friend Paula Carson over at UL and I said, someone ought to do a technology class for these nonprofits. Help them learn to embrace technology, because it's not going anywhere. Help them to embrace it, make it part of their daily budgets, their monthly budgets, and get it to work for them instead of kicking and cursing the computers. Paula put a couple dots together, called on one of her relationships, Mike Totero over in Business Systems. Next thing I know is we taught a 6-week class on technology for nonprofits. The old teach a guy to fish instead of giving him a fish kind of thing. Again, none of them left being Bill Gates, but they all kind of had a better feel for what's involved in the day-to-day. The next year, we did a social media class. My friend Jackie Russo, no disrespect, Cherie, I know it's a competitor, but she taught about social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of this stuff that I had no idea existed. Again, just to get them to utilize terms and utilize tools that are out there. And I'm sure Cherie can help you out with that, like that. How's that for cross-referencing? A capacity building class. Our next one will be about marketing. I will be calling Cherie to talk to her about this. It's a few months away, but And one of my big frustrations from the TV side is a number of nonprofits, again, great causes, but aren't so good about getting the word out. We'd love, again, to help teach some nonprofits how to fish. It doesn't involve Stellar giving a check, but involves building a team and building Acadiana. Other things you can do, as I am blessed to be working with a number of other foundations in our area, the Rux Foundation, the Moody Foundation, the Pinhook Foundation, the Pew Foundation. We all team up. We get together, we have coffee once or twice a month and talk about different projects. And we all have our own identities and our own passions. The Rux Foundation is probably the biggest about advocacy. Margaret and Billy do tons of things about child porn and child slavery and things like that. They get out there and really work the pavement. They brought in some amazing groups and speakers from around the country to go to schools. You might have seen some of the group was called Fight a New Drug. They've been in a number of our schools over the last couple of years. So everyone's got their own passion and interest. Somebody said, well, how do you decide what you're going to give to? And I said, Matt has his own passionate buttons. You all have your own passionate buttons. What causes should I get involved in? Again, go back to your passions. I tell these kids in junior philanthropy, I said, follow the things that you're interested in. Just because old man Brasta tells you ought to be involved in St. Jude doesn't mean it's the right fit for you. I guarantee you the stuff you guys like to do, there's a passionate, philanthropic slant to it. You like to duck hunt? Bo will be glad to work with you because Ducks Unlimited is second largest in the country.
And the largest fundraising event in the nation.
Yeah, DU. You like to duck hunt? You like to preserve habitat? You don't even have to like to duck hunt. You want to preserve what's out there? DU's the perfect venue. You like video games? Nintendo has its own foundation. Again, I guarantee you the stuff you like to do. You just want to sit home and read? Boys and Girls Club would love to have you every afternoon for 15 minutes reading to kids. Particularly those of you in the younger demographic below me that, again, I'm old man Brasda, but if you get a relationship and get some kids there, St. Thomas More did a phenomenal thing where they adopted a Holy Family School just down the road from Cathedral Carmel. How many know Holy Family School? I've lived here since I was 3. I did not know Holy Family existed until 3 years ago. Shows you my point of reference. I knew where Cathedral Carmel was. I lost a lot of basketball games in that gym. I did not know that 3 blocks down the road was Holy Family that's been around since the mid-50s. Well, STM with their Hope Fest program adopted Holy Family. And now every week they send about 10 or 15 students to read, to tutor. Didn't involve anybody writing a check. You can do things like this. Another thing that's become a hot movement, how are we doing on time, Ms. Jan?
We're just right there.
Okay. I'll push this last one for you. A big movement around some of our bigger companies around the country is to give their employees a day off, but not a day off to go play, a philanthropic day off. And they can pick the day, they can pick the cause. And what you might want to do is make sure it aligns with certainly what your company is about. But, that fosters their passion, their community involvement. Yeah, they're not behind their desk that day, but they are building a better Acadiana, building a better community. It's one day off. It's a day, maybe you manage it properly so not everyone's off at once. So not all 1,200 Stellar employees are out of the building. But again, you can all do that, and it is not rocket science. Stellar itself is trying to figure out ways. I had a meeting last week, and they said, we have realized that we're this big entity, and a lot of folks, they rarely see us at anything. They rarely see us all wearing our Stellar shirts. It's going to change, because Stellar has a bunch of plans to get out there and do stuff, to wear their Stellar t-shirts. You guys can all do this thing. I'll make one more push, just in general, about the Upper Lafayette Foundation, and Jan has done a phenomenal job. I've been lucky enough to be her guest a couple months ago. I am a Turlings grad. And for the longest time, Turlings football was on and off the radio. My friend Kavan Borlaug, who worked at Channel 10, imagine Channel 3 and Channel 10 teaming up and becoming good buddies. We decided, well, let's try to make this really work for Turlings. We've got some great things happening in Upper Lafayette. Well, because of a number of you guys who made it possible, we had a phenomenal year. I can't see this going away for a while. Turlings is on the radio. And before everyone knew that Cole Kelly was going to be one of the top recruits in the country. And it's because of your support making Upper Lafayette move and groove and let folks know that a bunch of good things are happening over there. Guys, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.